Back in August, Melanie and I took the train out to Paris for a wedding later that week in the south of France. I used a quick overnight as an excuse to run by the various Olympic playing fields, around the Arc de Triomphe, and to finally get up close and personal with the Eiffel Tower. I think running is a great way to see these kinds of touristy sites and cities, so that when it comes up in conversation that, oh sure, I've been to Paris a bunch of times, but I've never seen the Eiffel Tower, you don't sound like a snob. And look, I know there are countless videos out there about the Eiffel Tower, so I wanted to task myself, to challenge myself, to find one interesting fact about the Eiffel Tower that I could share with you. And I found something. It was originally intended to be dismantled after 20 years from its completion in 1889 because old Gustave Eiffel only secured a permit for the tower to stand for 2 decades. But the tower became essential for military communication purposes, particularly during World War I, so they just left that hunk of iron up for generations to come. So remember kids, when they sing, war, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. The tiny caveat to that is, occasionally you might end up with one of the world's most popular tourist attractions. After the run, we met up with Melanie's sister flying in from the US, and we went straight to Orléans, known for its connection to Joan of Arc, who played a pivotal role in lifting the siege against the city during the 100 Years' War in 1429. Now listen to Joan's resume, because I think we all know of her, but we don't necessarily know why we know her. Here's the scene. England and France are at war for the millionth time, give or take. Joan gets visions from some saints instructing her to help the French cause, turning her into a divinely inspired figure. After arriving in Orléans, she took command of a demoralized French army and got aggressive, taking down English fortifications around the city one by one until the English fled. Something the English would of course do again, facing the French and Americans in 1776. Boom! A quick disclaimer. Yes, I know the English didn't flee in 1776. It was actually 1783 when the war was over. But nobody, not even the majority of my own countrymen I'd bet, would know that. But the point remains the same. The English hightailed it out of there back to their horribly royally inbred king. Now back to Joan. As if this isn't all impressive enough, in one of the battles, she was wounded by an arrow but returned to lead her troops. I mean, come on! Get this woman on a box of Wheaties or something! Anyways, we came to town because it's where Melanie's grandfather worked as a doctor for a US military hospital after the war. The hospital's looking a little zombie apocalypse these days, so we can only assume, or hope, that things were a bit more sterilized when their aunt was born here in the 1950s. But Orléans itself is as postcard picturesque you could hope for out of any mid-sized European city, complete with the obligatory, wildly ostentatious church built through the blood, sweat, and tears of peasants to honor a humble carpenter. The city, known for its fantastically phallic balcony railings, was also in the throes of celebrating 80 years since the liberation of France. Locals marked the somber occasion with a year-long moratorium on making lazy caricatures of Americans as insatiably obese gluttons with megaphones for vocal cords. Because I've yet to find another hobby, I spent some time exploring the area on foot, running along the river and accidentally ending up on this uncomfortably narrow path until another bridge came along to whisk me back to the relative serenity of this smooth, crushed gravel path. It's a kind of simple, turn-your-brain-off running I need from time to time. From Orléans, we made our way south for the wedding outside of Montpellier. The temperature ranged somewhere between orbiting the sun and Satan's soggy butt crack. That meant getting up bright and early to run around the French countryside, where I promptly lost the trail, if it ever even existed in the first place. But hey, I ran by this cool abandoned building and managed to find some views along the way. This is very nice. I mentioned it was Satan's soggy butt crack hot out, right? Good, because that's why a stop at this waterfall outside of Saint-Laurent-le-Minière was a damn near necessity. I for one was too chicken shit to jump in because I was in peak marathon training mode and I didn't feel like testing the evil eye by scrambling around some slippery boulders when I could barely handle the pebbles. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't, because a little over a month later, I ended up shaving 19 minutes off my PR at the Berlin Marathon a few days ago. That's it for this one. Check out some of the other stuff on my channel, from literally running around with Kenyan marathoners to torturing myself in the North Macedonian mountains during an ultra marathon to all sorts of other fun stuff.